Today on Conversations Aloud, we're discussing the US military and its impact on the world. We're joined by Robert Jordan, who is a retired veteran, a pastor, an author, and a philanthropist, being involved in a number of charities and leadership roles. He served 5 tours in Afghanistan during his career with the US Navy, retiring in 2019 while serving at the Pentagon. Since then, he's worked as a Navy contractor, a senior analyst, and an international disaster relief operations manager with Operation Blessing. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Well, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure and an honor to be with you and your international community. And greetings to all.
Great to have you here. So Robert, let's just start off with I think your 5 tours. When you look back on your 5 tours in Afghanistan, what moment or decision had the deepest impact on you personally?
Well, I would tell you that for me, I for me it was a noble effort to serve there. I gained a great affinity with the Afghan people, and so following that, I continue to serve the people of Afghanistan. I take care of widows and orphans, the poor, those at risk. So one of the things that I learned in a war zone, there's the ability to extend humanity. And that's what I did. Even though I was an armed combatant, of course, I was
Which
in
is
the
not something that
military.
people
Yeah,
think about when they think about war zone,
that's
right?
right. hmm Yeah, we always think of the worst. And of course, war is terrible, and it is tragedy, and it's around. You see the worst of humanity, right? So, but what I wanted to do was extend humanity. And so at every turn, I tried to do that. Whenever I engaged with the Afghans, I tried to extend myself to them uh, with humanitarian efforts, humanitarian relief efforts, visiting orphanages, and befriending Afghans, extending myself further than 3 feet, right? Reaching out to them, embracing them, especially the children. Um, and I have a wonderful story I'd like to
Yes,
share.
please.
Um, I befriended an orphan boy, uh, and over the course of my tours of duty there, which uh, I would come in and out of the country, and I was able to, even though I lost touch with him because I was stationed at different places, but I was able to keep in contact with him. Now, when I first met him, he was, um, of course, being an orphan boy, he doesn't know really how old he is, but I would have said he was probably 12 years old. And the reason I could say 12 is because I would ask him how many Ramadans he celebrated, and he told me several. So then I would add 5 years to that, right?
Mm.
So I 12, 13 years. And this little boy really struck me because he was very disadvantaged at this orphanage because we would visit the orphanage to deliver supplies, but also we would play soccer with the boys, and engage the boys in that kind of esprit de corps. But he would always stay away. He was always, sat by himself. And so I used to go sit with him, and through an interpreter, he told me this tragic story where um, he would run away from where he was living at the time. His stepmother would beat him terribly, and he had deformed legs because his legs were broken from these beatings.
Mm.
Terrible, just terrible, tragic story. He said he would live in trees to avoid, animals and things at night. And he was placed in this orphanage, and so he was sickly, and certainly underweight, malnourished, and the rest. So I really felt sorry for this boy and befriended him and offered him love and support. And my wife would send packages specifically for
Mm.
him. And anyway, over the years that passed, I was able to find him again. And one of the things I did beforehand, I actually took him to Bagram. to the airbase for a full medical evaluation because of his legs, and had a CAT scan done of his complete body for a medical assessment. And before we left, we took a photograph together, right? And so years later, when I went back to the orphanage, which we found again, which was, very difficult to find, but we did find it. And we were able to meet again. And when he saw me inside the orphanage, he began to weep with joy. And he told me that he prayed every night that we would one day be reunited. He took me to his room. He lived in a closet because he was older now. So now he's probably 17, 18 years old. And he was going to be leaving the orphanage because he's a grown man now. But over his mattress that he slept on was that picture. Isn't that a great story? And so, yeah. I mean, we don't hear many of those in the war zone.
Sure, yeah,
like
that's
that, right?
you never actually hear those stories. I mean, what was the
Yeah.
reception of people there? Because obviously there's an invasion element to it, but then there's a humanitarian element to it. Were people receptive to you, or was there trust there?
There's always of course, I think the Afghans were in some ways numb to it, right? Because of the continual warfare for decades there. I did not wear a traditional uniform. I had a beard. My hair was long. And so they were like, who is this? He must be someone special, right? I mean, in their eyes. And so I was in places where people like me, they haven't seen before. So they wanted to, like the children, they wanted to come up and touch me. Like, who are these guys? Who are these people dressed like that? Why are they like that? Who are these people? So, we always tried to engage with them and bring food to them and things like that. And so once we started to talk with them through our interpreters, they wanted to know where we lived and, what we ate. And, it was really a cultural experience. And of course, we always tried to, wherever we went, we tried to do some very basic medical assessments, and tried just to be friendly and just to show mercy and grace and, of course, love, support. Obviously, we may not see them again if this village or that village, but still in all, we tried to do our best we could to help us. And also, we would try to deliver clothing and things of that sort. So it wasn't always, active engagements, as a combatant. I tried to always extend myself in a humanitarian way.
Nice. And what was but what is a misconception that you think people have about either Afghanistan or Afghanis that you think is incorrect that you've seen or experienced when talking to people?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you so much for asking that. Unfortunately, there is a misperception that, number one, most Americans could not find Afghanistan on a map, right? And unfortunately, that's the truth. And the other thing is they think, well, Afghanistan, they're all Afghans are terrorists. I mean, we're so close-minded in America, right? I mean, that's it. We're focused on ourselves. We really don't have that worldly maturity or world vision. We just don't. You would think we would, but I'm just telling you, from a humanitarian or a philanthropic standpoint, I hear this all the time that, why would I be concerned with Afghans because they're terrorists? And they'll say things like, well, look at 9/11. There were no Afghans on those planes that struck the World Trade Centers. There may have been Afghans as passengers, which I don't know, but certainly those who commandeered those aircraft weren't
Yeah.
Afghans. So there's always these misconceptions, right? So, um, and it's very difficult to raise money for the Afghans and for my humanitarian outreach because there is this misconception about Afghans. It's very sad because Afghans are very generous people, loving, caring, and in their own right, and they're very hospitable. If you befriend them, that they will befriend you. If they believe that you're a caring person, they will go out of their way to be hospitable to you, even in a war zone. I mean, I will tell you that firsthand. And I've made some lifelong friends, to include that boy who's now a man who, it's just, and I have some wonderful Afghan friends to this day.
Very interesting. And I understand you're still involved there. You've got you
Yes.
founded an orphanage. You have a charity that's involved in there, right?
Well, I don't have an orphanage, but
Mm.
I do have a charity. It's called Bright Future Philanthropy Corporation, which I support um, humanitarian efforts there, feeding the poor, feeding widows, their orphans, things of that sort. Also, I have another effort which is called Threads of Hope. I support a um, a seamstress academy to help women, young women, learn how to sew, so that they can then sell someone can sell their wares at a local bazaar. It helps them earn a little money, thus support their small cottage business at home, sewing and selling these beautiful dresses that they make. So,
That's great. Um, has there been any change in how you view the U.S. military and foreign policy from when you first served there to now as a retired veteran and having been in the Pentagon?
well, um, I would say, the lessons that I learned from serving from like with boots on ground, right, to serving at the Pentagon is that nothing works quickly in the Pentagon.
Mm.
It's such, it's a huge bureaucracy there. And so there's a slow creep to get anything done throughout the Pentagon. But because it's just a tremendous, tremendous organization with so many overlaps of bureaucracy. But um, I'm very proud of my service. I'm very proud of our military. And ye- although I will say, with Afghanistan, I was very dismayed with the outcome of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. To me, um, what occurred there was a disaster with the withdrawal. I can say that. I was disheartened, disenfranchised with the leadership at the time. Not only the leadership at the highest levels in our government, the highest levels of our military, and how that transpired, and the outcome of that
When
withdrawal.
it comes to that example, I mean, who dictates the policy around how to withdraw? Is it the Pentagon that feeds this information to the president, or is it kind of more top down?
Well, of course, the president receives advice and counsel from the highest levels within his, Department of Defense, and the intelligence services and the like. Um, and then from there, ultimately, he's the commander in chief. So he would determine best practice from those also on the ground there, the top leaders. But some of the decisions there were just so terribly orchestrated. It was doomed to fail. I mean, they were elementary. You could see, you could just see the outcome long before it was happening. And the real tragedy, not only were the loss of our own service personnel, but the hundreds of Afghans that were killed at Abbey Gate, and the outcome of our withdrawal, and what resulted afterwards. So it was a terrible, terrible withdrawal and operation with no real uh, forethought of the outcome after we left. I really do believe it was just a terrible, terrible withdrawal.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I think it was shocking for a lot of people because it's not what you would expect from the U.S. In terms
Yes.
of
Yeah.
execution. The U.S. spends more on its military than the next 10 countries combined.
Mhm.
Do you think this kind of level of spending makes America and the world kind of safer, or does it force the U.S. to use this power more regularly because it spends so much on it? It feels like it has this arm that it needs to use without, let's say, adequate considerations. When you look at Afghanistan and the withdrawal, or the Iraq War and the master and aftermath of that. Do you see that? Do you feel, does it make it safer, or is it too powerful, the military?
Well, the um, the amount of money that's spent on our defense budget is tremendous, right? We are the world superpower, certainly. Um, our objectives uh, and our national military objectives are certainly defined by who we are as Americans. Now nations around the globe can either support us or object to our national objectives. But uh, but because we are a superpower, it the amount of money that's spent on weapons, arms, research and development, current technologies, um, and also the fielding of these technologies is very, very costly. Um, but we also have to take into account our allies around the globe, and also commerce around the globe. And so that's what I think many people, or many countries, don't realize. The scope of our military operations it also includes the free flow of commerce around the globe, which includes our Navy um, around the globe as well, to keep the free flow of commerce going. So it's very, very expensive to do so. But
Yes, so you do feel that it brings stability because the
Mhm.
U.S. Kind of looks after the waters of the world to ensure that trade continues. You had the whole issue with
Mhm.
um, the, in Yemen, for example, they were kind of hitting the ships, and that was causing a lot of issues, and the U.S. had to react to that to ensure trade is continuing. Now, a lot of people will, on the other side, will say, uh, we can see how it can bring stability, but for people, let's say in Afghanistan or in Iraq, it's beyond instability. It's on the other side. It's instability. Do you see the other side, or are we missing something from that picture that we are uninformed about?
Well, our foreign policy uh, is reflective, of course, on the administration that's seated in Washington, D.C. And that administration, there's an ebb and flow of the policy mindedness of who is seated in Washington. And so that ebb and flow can change depending upon who is the president of the United States, and his cabinet, uh, and also the direction of those unelected bureaucrats that are seated as well. And so Um, I think also there's something to consider, which we often don't, is uh, and General Eisenhower warned us about this, and it is the military industrial complex, right? That also has to be taken into consideration. So, given all these various factors, right, that come into play with everything that is involved in American foreign policy, it's a very, very complicated picture to try to dissect in roles of you know cost-based analysis, as well as um, right, wrong, or indifferent, depending upon where you look at it and from what plateau you look upon it from, right?
Yeah.
What is your objective? What is your point of view? It's a very complicated issues. These are very complicated issues, in other words. Um, from an American standpoint, even in our own country, I mean, uh, at any given time, 49% of the people may not even support what goes on, right? But 51% do, and so that party's in power. You see what I mean? That's the way of it. So,
I think what scares a lot of people is, I mean, they know who makes the final decision, but that decision is
mhm,
based on information that's being given. And the people that are giving that information generally are not elected officials.
that's
They're
correct.
the head of
Right.
CIA, the head of I don't know who, the Pentagon. And so it becomes very tricky to understand, is is that person, that's unelected, driving that decision by giving certain information and not giving certain information. That's the scary part for a lot
Mhm.
of people.
Yes. And I mentioned that just a few minutes ago, right? The unelected bureaucrats
Yeah.
that are deeply seated in our government. Who are these people? Uh, I couldn't tell you who they are, right?
Mm.
Um, you know, the, Hopefully we have checks and balances of those who are elected and seek to do good, right? Now, I'm not saying that the unelected bureaucrats seek to do that which is not good, but there's the check and balance. We need good people to serve in our government, and we need good people to serve with a noble effort, because and to find those people that perhaps don't have noble efforts, or a noble view of what it is that they oversee, and what aspect within the government that they oversee, right?
Yeah.
Whatever programs and things, to include, like you say, the CIA. Now, the one thing is that these people, CIA, FBI, whatever organization, they are appointed. They serve um, uh, by under the president. The president can terminate these people at any time, right? It's very difficult, but they can. They serve by the pleasure of the president. So, but there are people deeply seated, career bureaucrats. It can be very difficult to find out who these people are and how much power that they really wield in our government. But that's all governments, right? I mean, we see the figurehead, the president or the king or whomever is in power, but we don't realize that there's so many layers in the bureaucracy, and what powers that these people have. So, um, but we have to trust the system, that, and the system has checks and balances in place. One of the things I will say about America is is the genius of our founding fathers, who put together the Constitution of the United States. It's a remarkable document. Uh, and these young men, for the most part, had the foresight to write this document, which set up the Constitution for our young republic to really watch and maintain these checks and balances, um, and through spirited debate, um, to maintain our republic, right? And so, um, it's really is an amazing thing that a document that these gentlemen, who had great risk to themselves, when they formed our, from the colonies to the United States, when they formed that union, they had great risk to themselves. They really put a lot of foresight and a lot of forethought into that document. So there are checks and balances against all that, right? But as you know, our history has not been without its own issues. We had a civil war that we fought, right? And we've had uprisings in the past, and we've had our civil rights period where there was a lot of instability. So we as a young country, we've gone through, the ebb and flow of refinement, but we've stayed together. We've maintained a union and a republic. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And do you feel that currently the U.S. is moving a bit away from kind of what the Constitution intends? The Constitution, one of the great things about it, as you mentioned, is the independence of different institutions. And from what we're seeing, there's a bit of challenge to that independence right now. Do you see that or fear that, or do you think that it's a bit overblown with the way the media talks about it?
There
Well,
seems to be,
balances and checks to your point.
yeah, yes. I do think that, of course, everything is breaking news, right? When you watch American TV, no matter what it is, it's breaking news,
Sure.
right? So, but that's news, that's sensationalism. But I will say that we do have our problems. We do have issues with, socialism, starting to creep in. People not knowing what some of these isms are, right? And of course, young people are always, they're taken by these, more radical movements on the campuses, so there are some threats there, but I believe after living through the Vietnam War era, the Civil Rights era, political assassinations that I've witnessed in my lifetime, having seen, what happened at 9/11, I think that our republic is strong, and I think we'll weather these storms. I really do. But there are threats, both foreign and domestic, that we have to contend with. But what we do need is we need good people that are benevolent and willing to represent all people, right? Instead of just their party. And that's the problem, I think, when elected people when they are elected, they have to serve the constituency, vice their party. They forget about that. They can't disenfranchise the 49%, right? They got, it's nice that 51% elected them, but they can't disenfranchise 49%. That's what happens, And so regardless of who the 49% is, you have to embrace them. You have to reconcile. If you don't, then that's where that undercurrent of hostility, disenfranchisement, and undercurrents of revolution start, right?
Which is what it feels
And
like is
so,
happening
yeah.
right now. It's to your point.
Mhm.
It's a forgotten thing that you're not just representing the people that have elected you. You're representing the whole area. And
Yes.
what we're seeing right now, not only are we seeing them not being represented, but both sides are seeing the other side as the enemy, which is going a bit further
Yes.
even, and it's
Mhm.
causing that polarization and to the point
Mhm.
of killings because of this view of, hey, this is not just a person that disagrees with me. This is a person that is the enemy that I need to remove.
Mhm. Yeah. So here's a good case in point. So, um, I'm a pastor. I'm a Christian, obviously, but I have an international prayer group, and we pray with members of all faiths. Why? Because I think it's the right thing to do. Now, I'm not bent on converting anyone. I'm just focused on goodwill and praying with people.
Mm.
What are your concerns? What can we pray about? Pray about your family. Pray about your health, right? Pray for your needs,
Yeah,
right? That's inclusive,
sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think that dialogue
Not
is so
not
important.
Yeah. See, but not to shut our doors, or you're not one of us. Stay out, right? That's the problem today, right? You know, if we're having a spaghetti dinner on a Saturday night, and you're not one of us, we should open our doors and invite people in for spaghetti dinner or whatever we're eating, right? You know, be mindful of that, right? But I think all too often, you know, our houses of worships have become only inclusive domains, right? We don't want those people in here,
Yeah.
right? It's very sad. Let's get together.
Mhm.
That's what that's what I try to do. And I worship we pray with people. And I mean, obviously, um, you know, the people I help in Afghanistan, they're followers of Islam. People say, why do you do that? Because they're in need. I mean, why? Can't you help Christians? Well, I do. I mean, I help people of all faiths. Because they're in need. That's the point, right?
100%, yeah, which is much needed. Talking about faith, as you mentioned, your amount of faith. How has your faith shaped your view of war?
That comes up all the time. I had uh, this moment of spiritual reformation as I was readying to retire, and so I can only explain it. Faith has been very personal to me growing up and as I got older, but it was mine, internal, right? But and I've mentioned this on many podcasts and I've written about it, but I'll share this with you because it's very personal. I was I was being seen by an Army psychiatrist doing a mental health screening because I suffer from chronic PTSD, right?
To this day?
And what's
To this
that?
day.
To this day, yeah. Right. And so this Army psychiatrist mentioned God, right? And all of a sudden, I felt it. I felt something in my body. I mean, it was the Holy Spirit. I'll just say, to me, it was the Holy Spirit moved through
What
me.
did that feel like?
I just felt this energy. I felt something in my body. Like it just moved me. And here's what happened. When I left his office, I said, I'm going to seminary. Now, if you would have told me before I went to his office, hey, by the way, when you leave, you're gonna attend seminary, I would have said, you're crazy. Why would I do such a thing? So when I left, I registered to go to seminary because that was late summer of 2019, and I retired in October 1st, 2019. So I had no plans to go to seminary before that. So, I can only tell you I was moved by the Holy Spirit to go to seminary because I spoke with an Army psychiatrist of all things. So maybe I had some mental illness. I don't know, but it all seemed to work out since. And since then, not only did I graduate seminary, become a pastor, I've written 11 books. I have my own podcast, my own philanthropy corporation, and I help people all around the world. It's just been such a blessing. And, rather than be a bitter, broken man, who I was before I walked into that office,
Nice. So, faith came in at the right time
At the right time,
to make you
yes.
look in a
Hmm.
different way at things, and
Hmm.
guide you to actually leverage your experience and contribute more than you did
Hmm.
before.
Yes.
Nice. And how do you? I mean, when it comes to, it's difficult when you're kind of in a war situation, but also the understanding of war, going at war with another nation. Did your faith also kind of guide you there? Or how did you kind of align both faith and war
Hmm.
together?
Yes. Another great question, which often comes up. So obviously, I'm an armed combatant, and anything can happen in war, right? And the things that I saw in war, horrific, right? Um, and so the only way to explain it and to justify it is that um, I'm going against armed combatants who are determined to be the enemy. They chose to be, and that's how I rationalized it. Now, even with that, here's the one thing about America that I think that is something that needs to be said. When an enemy combatant can no longer take up arms, do you know that they're given the same medical care as our own soldiers?
Mm.
It's really amazing. They will receive the same medical care as our own personnel. A lot of folks don't realize that. And so that's something about America that is unique. And so, um, you know, uh, and that's again the way we look at people differently. Um, and we're not barbarians. We're not evil people. We will do that. We will take care of those who are no longer armed combatants and save them, right? As well as certainly take care of those that are injured, meaning innocent people, women and children, and men, women, and children who are injured in and around a battlefield. And so, and people would come to bases that were injured, not in battle, but just injured, and seek medical care, and they would receive medical care. And so we're very compassionate in in that regard, you know. And so, uh, I mean, we would see the horrors of war are just etched in our minds, and certainly my mind. Certainly the those who are caught in between, right? And they're often the innocent, men, women, and children that are caught
Which are
between.
also typically the
Um,
majority of unfortunately, the deaths sometimes happen in that way, where it's
that's
the
true.
innocents that are
Hmm.
dying mostly.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, but I can remember, you'll see in the hospital wards that they're being taken care of. And I don't know the extent of, who did what to whom, but they're there being taken care of.
Yeah. I
Um,
think the worry
you know,
with, with technology and modern warfare is that there is a bit less reliance on people on the ground to take action. And, we see an increase of less people taking on the ground, taking action, which the problem is it removes empathy. To your point, if you're on the ground and you're seeing these things, you are more likely to help those that are, in the crossfire. But as opposed to you're sitting, thousands of miles away, just pressing a button and dropping a bomb, it's very hard to see you see the impact obviously on the screen, but it's different to, there's no empathy there as much as if you were seeing it there on the ground itself. And that's the scary part about where we're heading, is that empathy is gone, and it's so important in warfare because it makes it human what's happening, and we see the real cost of it. as opposed to almost becoming like a video game of just pressing buttons.
That's a great point. Technology has, the use of drones, things of that sort, has really advanced warfare to the point where, you can leverage technology to the point where it is become artificial in a sense, right? And yes, it removes that interaction, the human interaction. But it still takes. There are certain engagements where it still requires, one-on-one close combat, which is awful. I think so. The other side of that is it removes that element, that close quarters element. But technology is going to increase and make warfare more efficient, and it's insidious, right? I mean, that's the way of it. The technology increases and improves and advances, and it becomes insidious. Right?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of instances where the U.S. military action in parts of Syria and in parts of Iraq against ISIS, which we obviously had to get rid of ISIS, but because it was mostly done through airplanes, the destruction was very different to normal wars that you see. It was a combat situation, and we're moving more towards that world where we're just going to fight with drones. And the issue now becomes, to your point, we need good people, but it's very difficult to have good people now when war is profitable. And we live in a capitalistic society where, our value a lot of the times is derived from how much money we make. And that's, that's how we compare ourselves to a lot of other people, unfortunately. So it's very hard to, when you're incentivizing war, very hard to get good people in that would make the moral decision to whether to enter or not. It becomes very muddy and very difficult to do that. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that's why war should be absolutely the last. There should be diplomacy should be used to the fullest extent, right? And our enemies should want to engage in diplomacy for their own right, for their own sake, as well, right? Because the outcomes are so out of balance, especially when they know that they're going against the United States. I mean, the technology imbalance is just remarkable.
Indeed.
And so,
if you could sit down with the next generation of military leaders and give them kind of one piece of advice about America's role in the world, what would you say?
Yes, that's a great point. So I know it sounds, they have to know who it is that not I won't say the enemy, but they have to know the cultures of where they're going to be placed. Meaning, the biggest mistake that I think we make is when we go into a country like Afghanistan, let's say, the biggest mistake we make is we forget about we're the foreigner. And we have to be able to engage the indigenous population with respectfully, culturally. We have to be able to understand who it is that we're speaking with, engaging with. That's the biggest mistake that we make every time. And we send people that are supposed to be experts who don't speak the language.
Yeah.
Right? We have people who are book smart but have never been there. We have people that from our, that come that from college, from university, yet, they have no practical knowledge, or, you know what I mean? So very, very difficult to operate that way and to gain the trust of those that you're working with if you don't. And the one thing, so for instance, with Afghans, you know they're very respectful people, but not only is trust a factor, but their pride is something as well. And but if you insult them, they will not disrespect you, but they will not forget that you disrespected them, right? And so it's something that it's just, so you have to be mindful of the culture. And we were there for 20 years, and yet I don't, every time we brought another force in to replace, as we fight wars 6 to 1 year at a time. You know what I mean? There's always this constant rotation. These people come in, and now we have to learn how to engage the locals, right? And it starts all over again, And so that's the biggest problem I think we have with wherever we go. It's so temporary, and it becomes infuriating after a while, especially after 2 decades,
Yeah.
right? And so I could, basic social norms, and that you should think that people would know, they have no idea. And so they insult the local population, and they don't realize that, because they all wear the same uniform, that they're new, right? They just arrived in country, but you would think, they take a course or something on the computer, or they read a little manual that they just ruffle through, and okay, you're good. I'm ready to go to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it doesn't work that way, because there's various populations, various tribes, there are various cultures and it's all different. So, but they have no idea what's in store for them when they arrive. So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
No, it's a valid point, and the issue is, of course, you're sending very young men and women
Yes.
there, and it's and it's hard for an experienced person to understand the culture, let alone young people who may have never left America before. America is a big place, obviously, and a lot of people have never left and heard different such languages and cultures and experienced all that. So it's kind of a double whammy of you need to educate, but also you're bringing there. Very, very interesting conversation, Robert. I mean, if people wanted to find out more about what you do, the character involved with it, where can you find more?
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Well, they can go to my website, and I would really appreciate that. They can just search for fatherbob.co, not com, but co.co. There they can find all about my philanthropic work, my Bright Future Philanthropy Corporation, Jordan Publications .llc. That there's a complete library of all my books. And nicely, what I do is when anything that I sell, whether it be on Amazon or, of course, Amazon charges, there's the price for the books. But if someone orders a book through my website, they're donation only. So 100% of anything that I sell goes directly to feed the poor. I self-fund all the administrative fees because I don't want to take away from the poor. So that's something that's so dear to me. So I'm self-funding everything myself. So I'm not a very good businessman.
Yeah,
right?
Costing you for the donations.
That's right. It costs me. So sometimes I send books, and that's okay. I mean, I tell people if I send them books, give them away to somebody else. I mean, I don't make anything on You can see the books behind me, some of the books, but I've been very blessed. I've had 3 books now that have garnered International Impact Book Awards. So
Right.
I'm really excited about that. And, yeah, so that's fatherbob.co.
And we'll put that in the show notes. Definitely.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. And, yeah.
Robert, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, I would like to thank you, Hattie, right? With all these very interesting questions, very fair and balanced, intriguing questions. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast.
It was my pleasure.
Again,
Thank you.
it was my pleasure as well. Thank you.